Audio Jungle.
Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Audio Jungle.
Jumping in now. We got a show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah. Welcome everybody. Coast to coast and around the world. Well, we have a special edition for you tonight. Yeah, we sure do. Welcome, everybody, from coast to coast around the world. This is Grizzly on the hunt, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Boy, it's been a heck of a week, and it seems like it's not even over, just like it began. So how's everybody doing out there? So, yeah, welcome to the show. I have what you've been asking for. Yes, Beyond the Strange. Dave Cruz. That is correct, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Dave, to the show. Absolutely, welcome. Are you out there, Dave? So he'll be on momentarily. So how's everybody doing this evening? Jump in the chat. Say hello. Tell us where you're from. I'm broadcasting at my new studio from Northern Kentucky, so that is awesome. I did move from Lexington, yes. Yeah, so actually, yeah, somebody's going to comment. I do have new glasses. That is correct. I went from bifocals to trifocals. I got promoted, so that was just awesome. Yeah, unbelievable, I'm telling you. My last show was awesome. I had a psychic. Ooh, that was very interesting. But I can't wait for Dave Cruz. Hello, how? Yes, hello. Hello from Northern Kentucky, backwoods. So what's your story there from Ohio? Everybody's got a story. Yes. What do you got here? Northern Kentucky backwoods is where I moved to. Moved to closer to my buddies that are out in the woods and bush. Yeah, I'm going to go some swatching. Figure out some stuff. Mr. Cruz, you're ready when you are. I don't hear anything, Mr. Cruz. I love strange things too. Absolutely. The stranger it is, the better it gets. I don't hear anything, Mr. Cruz. Nothing at all. Nope. No audio from you, Mr. Cruz. Yeah. So, no, the stranger things are, the better I like it. So that's what I'm talking about. Mr. Cruz, if you can hear me back there in La La Land, I don't hear any audio. So I guess he's doing his live. But yeah, the stranger things are. So what is the strange things that you actually come across of? That's what I want to know. What are some strange things out there that you know from Ohio? Now, we have big increase in Sasquatch sightings. What's really is interesting is that we have big sightings out of Michigan. Now, listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Sightings with Sasquatch that has fangs, 3 eyes, 1 eye, and tusk. So I was like, really? That's really strange. So I called my buddy that is in Michigan and asked him a few questions. And absolutely that he actually said that yes, that they are getting reports of things of that nature out of Michigan. So that really shocked me. So it's not only Michigan, but also from Kentucky as well. So that's really shocking. Bigfoot with 3 eyes, 1 eye, and tusk. So I can't hear you, Mr. Cruz.
All right, we are
No
live
audio.
also
All
here on
right.
Beyond the Strange, and we're speaking with Grizzly Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Doing fine, sir. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. So, yeah. So, what's going on in your world?
Oh, we got all kinds of stuff going on in the Beyond the Strange world here. So tonight is the strangest hour, and we're speaking with Grizzly on the Hunt, with Grizzly Chris. So welcome.
That
to
is
Beyond the
correct,
Strange.
ladies
Thank
and
you very
gentlemen.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. We got a person from Ohio. I love strange things. They're also saying out of a body experiences are my favorite. Now, I had a couple of those. Yeah, now those are scary. Have you ever had anything like that, Mr. Cruz?
I've had all kinds of weird stuff happen.
Yeah, that's kind of freaky. So introduce yourself to people that in my world that don't really know of you, which I do. You're famous. So what's
I like the
wrong?
way
Why
you
are
say
you
that. You're
blushing?
famous.
You are famous. I mean, come on. I mean, everybody. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you. Such a warm
Absolutely.
feeling.
Yeah, I would give you a hug, but you don't live close, so yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You know, I can't go in the other room and just pop on over. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, right.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on your show, Chris. And you know, likewise, you're very welcome to be on Beyond Strange. I'll go. I guess I'll go first, and then you can go next. But
Sure.
I got involved in the paranormal when I was very young, growing up on different programs and different kind of radio shows. Talked about the paranormal, you know, the usual stuff, Bigfoot, you know, spirits and ghosts, strange locations like Bermuda Triangle, that kind of thing. Got me interested in that. Also had some weird stuff happening in the family. Like we'd have like ghostly apparitions, and we even had possessed dolls walking around and
Oh wow.
in the homes. So yeah,
Oh wow.
really, really crazy stuff. I come from a Latino family, so we had some stuff called brujeria, which is, you know, kind of like a witchcraft type of thing, encounters. There you go. And that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Pretty crazy stuff. Growing up with the paranormal, I've had UFO sightings. I've also feel like I've also been abducted.
Oh no.
And yeah, and so all kinds of stuff. You know, I've been on a couple of investigations where I've felt spirits as well. I've it's amazing the life that I've been leading. So I'm just doing all the recording on my shows and that kind of thing to you know, just kind of log everything as I go along.
No, absolutely. I don't blame you at all. That's pretty wild. That's a heck of a story and encounters, man. That's woof. That's making my hair stand up on my hair. On my
Oh,
hair.
it's fun,
Arms. So yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. What about you, Chris? What's your background?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, they named me Grizzly because of my beard, right? I didn't put anything in it tonight, but usually I'm pretty slicked up. But I was in law enforcement, retired under LEOSA. That's a Law Enforcement Safety Officer Act. I got approximately 14 and a half years in law enforcement, retired as a captain detective. Got into the civilian sector, and they thought I walked on water, right? Because they're like, how are you getting these confessions? And how are you doing this? And how are you winning all these court cases and blah, blah. And so I end up writing some SOPs, standard operating procedures, on some of these companies. And they thought I was
God. It was unbelievable.
and it was just like, no, man, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So make a long story short, this law enforcement agency in Kentucky wanting to get into their animal side. I'm like, no, man, I'm out of it. They're like, no, man, we need you because we got the Kentucky Derby. We got the Kentucky Derby horses here. We got animal cruelty cases we're losing in court and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, nope. I'm like, what are you offering me money wise? I'm like, nope, I'm making like 3 times that. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. There's no way. I'm not giving up my money. I'm happy. I'm safe. And I'm not being shot at, stabbed at, fighting. I'm good. I'm getting older. I'm only
nice.
48, right? So ended up going through a divorce, and they kept calling me. And I was like, okay, I have no bills. Man, I'm really starting to feel sorry. We're talking about some major cases that they're losing because they don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, I don't understand why. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm like, yeah, I'm in. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm in. They're like, what? I'm like, can you not hear me? I'm going to join. And I was like, now I'm going to have to do research on law. I was like, actually, I'm going to have to research on everything, So I did all that stuff. And about 6 or 7 months into it, I get an animal cruelty case call. And it was about bestiality. And I'll leave it at that. In Kentucky,
my God.
It's in Kentucky, it's not a crime. Yes, I said that, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a crime unless you injured the animal. And now I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go any further because I'll flip you all out, freak you all out. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to get that call in the middle of the night. So, okay, I'm on call. So I go out and I'm talking to the neighbor and I'm like, are you sure? And we're having a conversation. So I'm doing my thing. So I walk around the street and I walk between these bushes and lo and behold, there is no ground. So I fall 10 to 12 feet. Well, they thought I broke my back. Okay. So they rushed me to the hospital and they're doing all this stuff. And this doctor comes in. He's like, Mr. Grizzly. And I'm like, yes. He's like, we need to talk. And I'm like, uh-oh. I was like, you don't look very happy. He's like, well, we found something. I'm like, I'm a right kidney, right? He said, how'd you know? I was like, it doesn't matter. Am I right? He said, yes. I said, how bad is it? And he goes, we don't know. I was like, no, don't tell me that. How bad is it? He's like, we don't know. We need to operate as soon as possible. I'm like, oh, hey, Abyss. How you doing down there? Welcome, Helly. So make a long story short, week and a half later, they get me in there. They're worried. He wanted to do a biopsy first. I'm like, dude, look, if you're going to go in and do your thing. We're not going in twice. There's no way in hell. So he did his thing, come back out. And he was like, it didn't spread any other organs or anything like that. But Grizzly, if you didn't get hurt, you had 6 months or less to live. Because that would have spread. It was small cell carcinoma. I'm like, what? I was like, that is a blessing because I was not going to take this job, right? So it was a blessing in disguise because I wasn't going to take it, but I was led to it. So I had paranormal experiences growing up. UFO, I lived out in the country. Me and Bobby, I ain't say his last name. His granddad had a rock quarry up in town, which we all used to go swimming. I'm big rock quarry. I think it's open to the public now. And we used to go hunting and camping on his farm. And his farm, nice. I'm talking, is like 1,200 plus acres. Huge. Now it's all big, 3-story houses, $400,000 or $500,000 homes built on it because it's changed. But we would be out in the middle of the fields and these lights would come out of nowhere. We're like, dude, here comes a helicopter. And Bobby would be like, there's no noise. And I'm like, well, why is the light shining on us? He's like, hell, I don't know. We didn't think nothing of it. We're kids, we're like 13, 14 years old. We're catching snapping turtles, tying lines to the trees and putting chicken on them. That's what we did for fun. And we would catch them and release them. And sometimes we had people in the neighborhood where we lived was really poor and couldn't afford food. We would give them the snapping turtles and they would eat them as snap turtle soup or turtle soup, whatever you want to call it.
I'm sorry. Can you back up? Where did you say what part were you from or when
Northern
all
Kentucky?
This is going on?
Yeah, Northern Kentucky. right
Okay.
outside Louisville.
Nice.
So that,
Okay.
yep. So this happened on more than one occasion, and his granddad kept saying something, or no, his granddad said someone keeps killing my cattle.
Hmm.
And we're like, those sons of guns, you know. I'm like, we didn't ask if what was going on. We assumed they were being shot because he didn't like nobody hunting on his land because he had a bunch of cow. Later, as we grew older, we found out they were actually mutilated somehow. He thought they were shot and somebody was just cutting them up. And so how that happened, what happened to him, I don't know the whole story because we never asked, never was told. But we know that there was more to what we knew at the time, which was strange. And there's been times where I've been out in the woods, you know, and I would hear things that, you know, like whistling, which I didn't think nothing of, right? You know, so somebody out here with me turkey hunting, great. You know, I'm in all camo. And one day I was turkey hunting, and man, this Jake was way out there, probably about 110 yards. So I'm crawling on my belly, and I'm trying to make no noise at all, and he's just. So I'm doing my little call back to him. So I'm like 70 yards. I'm like, dude, I got a 3.5-inch Magnum. I got the perfect choke.
Wow.
I'm like, I got a chance. So whoa,
Yeah.
wham! Man, I hit feathers. Man, feathers went everywhere and it took off. It flew. I was like, damn it. Well, at that time, something took
That's
off
nuts.
running on top of the hill. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, smack. I was like, that must be the neighbor hunting too. And it was huge. I'm talking like huge. I was like, damn, that's one hell of a ghillie suit, you know? And I was like,
Right.
it took off. So I didn't think nothing of it. I was like, damn, man, I mean, these pellets. And I'm like, I could have hit him. And I was like,
Mhm.
you know, they knew I was turkey hunting because the guy I was hunting on his land told him, hey, Grizzly's going to be down there this morning. So FYI, if you're going to go down there, go somewhere else on your property. Because all the land came down into a gully, right?
Right.
3 sectors, like 3 pieces of the pie. Then you know how the corners meet. So, you know, if I knew that, you know, Mr. Cruz is going to be down there in the morning, I would go to another piece of the land away from him. That was just the rule of thumb, as courtesy. And then, you know, my dad and I always went deer hunting, and we walked up. My dad was like, you smell that? I'm like, yeah. I was like, man, what the hell is that? He's like, they were just here. I'm like, yeah. He was talking about deer. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty wild. Ladies and gentlemen, today I realized it was not deer that we were smelling.
Not deer. Right.
Not deer at all, right? So, and what was amazing though is right after that smell, you would hear things like crackling and wood snaps, wood breaks, or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
But then you hear a whistle, and it's like, and I didn't realize then, you know, because I was a lot younger, right? I didn't realize then that Sasquatch or anything could whistle and make mimics of other animals and birds.
Yeah.
So all these years I was hearing these things. I was like, man, was you just that ignorant? You know, nobody taught me. You know, I mean, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Google. You know, we didn't have where I get on. Hey, Mr. Cruz, how you doing tonight, brother? What's going on in your world? We didn't have this
Right.
connection. If you want to learn something, you went to the local library, and that's what we did. And I was always in the paranormal, man. When anything Bigfoot come on, when the Patterson film and all that, I was glued to the TV. So,
Yeah.
and Ghost, they come back in my family,
Well,
right?
Getting back to your story though, real quick, Chris, check it out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of new information for me came out about Bigfoot, and you know, some of that was yeah, we know that, you know, Bigfoot liked to live in the woods. We know that he disappears. We know, you know, a few things. And that's growing up, right? But
Right.
within the last, I have to say 5 to 10 years, I started learning more about how Bigfoot builds structures in the woods, like with the branches and stuff, right?
Teepees. Yes.
Yeah, right, exactly. or that they do have a certain kind of language. I've heard it called samurai talk. I don't know if you've ever heard that
Yes.
called before.
So Ron Moorhead is a good friend of mine. He's also an
Okay.
admin of a couple of my
Right.
groups, and he's
Okay.
actually the one that recorded the Sierra sounds.
The air sounds
And
right.
yes, that is correct. And that is wild. I mean, you can Google it if you never heard of it and find it on YouTube. It sounds like two samurais talking.
It does. It's so weird. It's really crazy. And getting back to your story. So you were saying that you were hearing bird sounds.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. And a lot of people that I interview, it's amazing, right? Because these are people that are out in the country. They live out in the country. And they're like, yeah, well, I hear these birds at night. And it's like, they're not birds. Those birds do not come out at night, ladies and gentlemen. They're like,
Right.
what? I'm like, no, look it up. Look at your species you have in your area and look what they do. And when they're nocturnal and stuff, and when they're active and they're not active, and it freaks them out. They're like, so you're
Yeah.
telling me that I'm drinking a beer on my back deck and smoking a cigarette, and I'm hearing this, beautiful whistle that from whatever bird that I hear during the day at nighttime at 2:00 in the morning is not that bird.
Mhm.
I'm like, no, man, do they get freaked out?
Right.
They
Oh,
really
sure.
do. So yeah. So hello, Sonia. Welcome to the show. She's one of my favorites. She's also a psychic. Yeah, the ones up here will whistle and mess with you. And Sonia, what part of town are you from? Let everybody know. They do whistle. They make cow noises. A lot of people don't know. They make owl noises too. Like whoo whoo. They also mimic coyotes, which is amazing. It's unbelievable and they can actually, ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Cruz, they can actually mimic your voice.
Yeah.
Now that is wild. And I've got people that are on my team and my admin team will tell you that I'll be out in the middle of the woods going number one, ladies and gentlemen, that is tinkle, tinkle. Sonia says she's from East Tennessee, an hour north of Knoxville, Grange County. Thank you, Sonia. I
Sonia.
can't remember. But they would be tinkling and they would hear their voice be like, hello. And they'd be like, huh? What do you mean? That's they're
great.
like, oh, quit. They're like, all right, so-and-so, quit playing jokes on me, right? They are known to leave trinkets, stack rocks up and so forth.
Yes.
I know people gift them. I don't recommend doing that. I don't know why. I have made fun of them and laughing and crying and stuff. Yes, they do that. Yes, they do. Yeah, they will laugh and cry. Baby crying in
That's
the
bizarre.
woods. That is crazy. Now, ladies and gentlemen that are out there in the woods, the first thing you're going to say, well, fox does that. Yes, the foxes do sound like babies crying. But when you actually hear this crying sound like a baby, what is that telling you? Come help me? Is that trying to lure you in? So, I mean, yeah, they do so many things. It's just amazing. They are very intelligent. Very intelligent.
So, that's a good question. I mean, that's a good point that you bring up. Why exactly would Bigfoot want to bring and lure you in?
Well, so we know for a fact that Bigfoot is a cannibal, okay, that is known in history. If you look back in history, hello, Abe, disembodied dynamic Nephilim, I believe, is what natives named Sasquatch when cryptid community called Bigfoot. He has a lot of encounters with Dogman. I mean, this is wild. He's been on TV and stuff because of his encounters. Yeah.
Awesome, Abe.
There's been instance where a native tribe got tired of these big, tall, hairy men coming into their community and stealing their women and kids and taking them and eating them. And this went on for quite a while. And so they found out where they live. And you can find this on Google or in history. They found the cave. And what they did is at night, when they were sleeping, they put all this brush in front of
Right.
the cave, and they lit it on fire, and they killed them all with smoke inhalation, so they couldn't escape. The last time I went Bigfoot hunting, I came across a very hairy, large man with a lack of clothes in the woods, and that's from Stunham. So that's interesting. Where is that from? That's another somebody in our guest chat room saying that. So there are encounters where people do fight back. Daniel Boone, if you don't know, is reported allegedly that shot and killed a Bigfoot in Kentucky. That has been recorded in newspapers. So
Did not know that.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't believe in it. And that's fine. I'm not here to tell you what to believe in and what not to believe in. That's not my job. You can believe in whatever you want to believe in. But I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, the day that you see something that you think that does not exist will screw your mind up so bad, you will not know what to do. I have people that have messed their pants. I had people that actually cried and freaked out. I have people that just froze and don't know what to do, run or fight or flight. I have people that come down with PTSD that will not and refuse. They get close to the woods, they just freak out. I mean, scream and stuff. Will never go hunting again. They will never go fishing again. I got a picture here. Abe says, let me click on it. Click. It's not showing me. Hold on, Abe.
Oh, no,
there we
that's
go. I had it.
They can manifest.
Let me click on it again.
Look as our loved ones that have crossed over. Interesting. That is a very interesting idea, or what Abe just said, because I never thought of that, and I think that's the first time I've heard about that. However, I've always thought of Sasquatch as a spiritual being.
Well, and see, Ron Moorhead just wrote a book about multidimensional possibilities. I can't remember the exact name and title of his book. It just was released. And he said to me, he's like, Grizzly, if you would have told me that Bigfoot can come in and out of dimensions, I would laugh at you, right?
Yeah.
Hello, Cryptid 559, welcome.
Hey.
And he says,
how's it going, guys? I met them at the conference over the weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And he said, but now you have to think outside the box, because how can you explain stuff that you're getting all these counters? Like I interview people that only see half a Bigfoot run across the trail, a torso and up. And how can you and I be out in the woods in the snow following the tracks out to a field and they just disappear? Explain that to me. Right. There's no trees. We're out in an open field. So where did it go? So there are a lot of questions. Sonia says, my mom will not go outside in the dark. She knows. See what I'm saying? She knows they're out there. People know about them. But now people don't have that fear like they did 10 or 15 years ago. Mr. Cruz coming forward and saying, yes, I did have an encounter. That's why we're seeing all these older people coming forward, and especially younger generation. What's really sad, though, is in the public forum, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Abe even knows this. Sonia even knows this. People come forward and they're like, man, you are a liar. And they throw out the pitchforks at them. And these other people see that and they're like, I'm not telling my story. Nope. They're making fun of them. Nope. I'm not doing it at all. Abe says, I try to lure me into the woods. Happened to me in 2015. Took the form of his mother, ladies and gentlemen, that passed away in 1985. Try to get to me to follow the manifestation form into the woods. I started praying against it as I rebuked it in the name of Jesus, and it disappeared. Sonia says, me, on the other hand, will sit in the woods in the dark, as I know too, but I'm not scared of them. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I do get scared sometimes. I'm not going to lie. But I go out there prepared, so yes.
Well, you get prepared as much as you think you can. because you're right. Because we don't really know,
Yes.
we still don't know as much as we know about Bigfoot. We still really don't know
You're
because we
right.
never really had a Bigfoot captured or anything like that. So,
Well,
to
allegedly, we
study, to
never have
observe.
one.
I'm just
I know
saying.
the
Excuse
government
me?
has them. I know the government's got them.
Okay. Okay. I
I mean,
mean, you know that.
there's been reports that when Mount St. Helens exploded, right, that
Mhm.
Army helicopters had hairy monsters carried away in cargo nets, dead ones, and that's been documented.
Oh, I've
And
heard
people
that.
actually
Yeah,
come
I've
forward.
heard that.
Yeah. Now, is the government going to come forward and said, "Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have known that Bigfoot exists"? And because let me tell you something: if they acknowledge Bigfoot or Sasquatch or footer or footery, however you want to call it, existed, what do you think would happen to the national parks in the wood industry? It would shut them
Mhm.
down. You
Sure.
remember out in the Midwest about 10 or 12 years ago when they found that little spotted owl that was an endangered species and they damn near shut down the whole wood industry? They had to set aside so many thousands of acres to save it.
I do
So,
not, but
yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I mean, so now let's look at what was that movie or TV series with the Bigfoot show? What was that one recently? Uh, Somebody help me out there, Sonia. The one Alaskan Bigfoot or something where they were
Alaskan
getting,
Bigfoot.
is that what it was called?
I
When
think
they
there
were
was
getting
one
so
called On the
close.
Trail or something like that. Was it Bigfoot on the Trail? Anyways, there's a couple of them out there.
Yeah, but this one was so close to discovering Sasquatch.
Mhm.
They ran into a eminent domain where the government said, we just eminent domain, thousands of this acres of this land, you're not allowed on it. And they put a fence up on it and they blocked them out. And that was like, what in the world? And people were like, they didn't know if they were going to have another series or not because they're like, okay, what do we do now? I mean, do we cross the fence and go ahead and film? Because, I mean, they actually had some good evidence, right?
Sure.
So, but I mean, who knows? And you're right. And, is there an expert? No, nobody's an expert. And I interviewed a guy that was on the History Channel, the Traveling Channel, A&E, Tubi. He's got all these different shows and very well known. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to embarrass him. But I was so excited to have him on my show. I was like, yeah, we're at towards the middle of the show. And I was like, hey, so how was your encounter go? And he was like, I'm like, hello, can you hear me? He's like, yeah, I heard you. I'm like, yeah, so how was your encounter? What was your first encounter? He said, I never had none. Oh my gosh, did I get blasted? Man, people were sending me messages. How dare you embarrass him on national air? And it's like, ladies and gentlemen, I was just asking a normal question.
Sure.
How was your encounter? I mean, he's wrote books. He's been on TV. I thought he actually,
Had a
had
real encounter.
experiences. Yeah.
Right.
Abe says they fenced up the land where I had my encounters in Elms Grove, was wearing signs of no trespassing now. See what I'm saying?
Wow. Yeah. Sure.
I'm an expert in sleeping. I just woke up. Sorry.
Nice. Thanks there, Facebook user. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. Yeah. So what other questions do you have?
Well, I actually have an experience to share with you, Grizzly.
Oh, yes. Tell me.
So we're up in the Merlin, Oregon area. This is probably like about 5-6 years ago. And we are deep up in the mountains. Freaking this is October. Yeah, like around between September and October.
Good season.
And this was after the big fires happened up there, right? And we had some rain. So we had a lot of mud and stuff like that up there. And I went with a friend of mine. He goes by HK McLovin, by the way.
Oh, I heard of that.
So we go up there with a few of our buddies and stuff. And originally they had gone up there 7 years prior to me going up there with them. And what they were doing is they were mining on some property. Okay. And it's a great location, beautiful area, wooded, grass, just green, everything, and nice creeks and rivers. So we get up there, we're going, Bigfoot hunting, and man, it's cold too. Whew, it's cold.
Right.
Um, we got our tents. There's a couple of bungalows up there, that kind of thing. There's a house up there, and it's also it was also a really hot spot for the paranormal, not only for Bigfoot, but for paranormal activity like ghosts and also UFO sightings.
Oh, wow.
So
Trifecta.
you have the big three, right? And so, anyways, I go up there, and we, of course, we make camp and all that. We set up our cameras and whatnot. Put out some stuff like oranges and apples just to see if maybe we're trying to be a bring a peace offering, right?
Right, right.
And our attitude was to not try to hunt, but to make contact, to be formal, nice, that kind of thing. We just wanted to be able to communicate. Well, needless to say, we didn't see a Bigfoot, but there was a particular night. We did hear wood knocks, of course. We heard wood knocks. We heard different noises. We hear some woots and that kind of thing. There were some things that sounded like maybe rocks or acorns were like being kind of like tossed our way, but they could have
Oh,
just been
yes.
falling out of the tree. But we
It
don't
could
know.
be.
Anyway,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Because Bigfoot does have pinpoint whatchamacallit, accurate
Accuracy. Oh, yes.
throwing. They can knock you out. One night we were around the campfire, and one of our buddies was facing us, and we were facing the other direction. We're all just kind of talking about different things and stuff. Next thing you know, you see his eyes just kind of get wide like that, and we turned around. As soon as I turned around, I am not kidding you. There was this light in the woods. It didn't look like a flashlight. It looked like something that comes out of like a fairy tale. It almost looked like this searchlight spotlight kind of thing, but it was really faded. And I'm not kidding. It like had these little twinkly kind of things, and it just like disappeared.
Wow.
Now I chalk that up as I would call that a portal. A
That's
portal
what it
or
sounds like.
some kind of a portal or a vortex or something, right?
You're
And
right.
we just talked about this on the show the other night about the portals and vortexes. But so of course we run over there, and of course there's nothing there. We searched around, we looked to see if there might be some kind of lights in the trees or something like that. Maybe nothing. We'll wait a while, nothing. So we go over there the next day, we look again, nothing. Yeah, thank you, Sonia. So it was amazing to have seen that firsthand, because I've heard of I had actually up until then I hadn't heard too much about how portals might be associated with Sasquatch,
Yes.
and now it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me how fast these Bigfoot can disappear in the blink of an eye. They can just run right into a portal and just take off and disappear.
Yes.
So that was my personal encounter with that kind of paranormal experience as far as Bigfoot goes and everything else. We didn't really have too much of UFO sightings or anything that night. We saw a couple of things, could have been satellites, whatever, but it was really nice out there, but it was it was really cold. But that was a very amazing experience to me.
Yeah. Now, satellites. Now, here's how you can tell the difference between a satellite and a UFO. Now, satellite will maintain its original orbit and will not blink. It'll stay consistent. And that's just information for the ladies and gentlemen watching, okay?
Yes.
Sonia says, without a sound can be gone in front of you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
Believe it.
Sasquatch can walk up to you and you not even know it. Even it may be 700 or 800 pounds. How they do it, I have no idea, ladies and gentlemen. Ape says they hiding in trees like possession. They can possess anything living. Yes, I've heard that, and a lot of
Wow.
people come forward and say that as well. I actually interviewed Scarborough Nation once, and
Okay.
he is from BC, Canada, and he said when he was younger, him and his buddy, they were probably like 13, 14 years old. They were playing soccer, actually with a real soccer ball, not soccer, what we're thinking like over in England, right? So, and they saw this brick wall, and there was this building that used to be there standing, but it just deteriorated. I guess it was, old building, whatever. It was just like an L-shaped wall. But when his buddy kicked the ball over and he went to go get it, he turned and looked at the wall and he saw this big black circle. And he said it looked like somebody spray painted a black circle on it. But he was like, what was weird is that it looked like it had depth to it. Depth. Like you can go into it. So he was like, what the hell? He said he threw the soccer ball at the circle and he be damned, it went in it. He was like, ah! He's like, I don't know. So he called his friend over. He's like, what? He said the soccer ball's in there. And his buddy was like, what are you talking about? And he said, this little, I don't know what you call it, gnome looking thing looked out with the soccer ball, pissed off. Like, what are y'all doing? And he looked around and he was like, hey, buddy, that's my ball. And he said another one popped out and pushed his head down to look over him, want to know what was going down. I'm sorry for laughing, but I cannot imagine seeing this, right? I cannot imagine seeing this. He's like, hey, give me my ball back, please. And he said they mumbled and were mad. And he threw the ball in the opposite direction down the hill. And when they looked where they threw the ball and looked back, the circle was gone.
Wow.
I mean, so, and I've actually had people interviewed talking, they would be squirrel hunting and they would be leaning against a tree and they would hear like somebody's walking inside a tree and they're like, what in the world? And they would turn around, look up and they would see somebody come out like a little miniature Smurf looking thing. And best way to describe it, ladies and gentlemen, with a hat and a beard and be looking. And he would just be sitting there looking at it. Then he'd be looking and he would look down and look back. And it's like, you can see me, and run back in and gone. So he went up and climbed this tree to see if there was a hole in it. He's like, he said, there's something that's not right. I mean, there's no way. I saw what I saw. He said, Grizzly, it took everything I could to get my big beep up that tree. But I tell you what, I got up there and there was no hole. He said, man, he said, it freaked me out. He said, I never went back in that woods. He said, nope. Nope. Now, how can you explain that? Abe says they like hiding in trees. Yes, that is true. Cryptid, how did the atmosphere feel, and how did you feel during the time that you seen these lights? Yeah, how did you feel when you saw those lights?
An interesting feeling came over me when we saw those lights. It was almost like it was like a peaceful feeling. It was very peaceful, tranquil. And but then we kind of snapped out of it and like, oh, let's get over there, but it was interesting. It was really interesting. Our friend Dave S, I'm Dave C, but our friend Dave S was the one that actually saw it because he was pointed right at the lights when that happened. So when it started to dissipate, when the light started dissipating, that's when me and our other friends, we caught it when we turned around. But Yeah, it was an interesting. I mean, the atmosphere was still cold. You know, like I said, we were around a campfire, that kind of thing. Just got done eating, you know, having some drinks or whatever, a couple beers, whatever. Uh, but yeah, it was we all saw it, so it wasn't just one person that saw it, and you know, that kind of thing. Like, there's no way that, you know, it had anything to do with anything that we did. Real quick, I just want to do some shout outs to Dragon Rose. Thanks for joining the chat. Amy too. Amy, appreciate you coming out to the show, and of course, Black Sky UFO. So that was a very interesting, very, very cool experience. I've heard different, you know, especially on Sasquatch Chronicles, and you know, of course, there's David Pilates who talks about, you know, missing 411 and that
411.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's it could be very, very you know, I don't even know the word for it. It's just, that would be bad. That's all I gotta
So
say. That could be bad.
on the missing 411, a lot of people, hello there, Facebook user, Western Kentucky Bigfoot and Paranormal Investigations LLC. Down there, my Facebook, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, is Grizzly, Grizzly, Chris, CHRIS. Send me a friend request. I'm maxed out on my Facebook friend request. So I'll send you a link to my Facebook page so I don't have to say, I'm sorry, Mr. Cruz, I have to let you go because I'm picking somebody else. I hate doing that. I keep maxing out. So somebody talked me into a Facebook page. So I'm doing that. So I don't have to choose people. So Western Kentucky, I like to hook up with you. Maybe do an investigation and go live. That'd be pretty cool. Not sure if I would walk up to hold that. I don't know. But on one of my shows is I have a lot of real psychics, Mr. Cruz, real psychics. I'm talking, they will never ask you any questions. They will just tell you exactly what, you know, you say, hey, just tell me about my grandfather, or tell me about my loved one I'm thinking of. And they will just like, be like, and you'd be like, oh. I mean, that's how good they are. I mean, these are real deal. We tested them. They worked for the United States government, Defense Intelligence Agency, the FBI, CIA, all that stuff. So anyways, we were doing a show and I was thinking about 411. And I was like, can I interrupt you for a second? She was like, sure. I was like, do you know anything about the national parks and everything? She's like, yeah, everybody that goes missing and it's not documented and nobody does the investigations. I'm like, ooh, so you do know about that? She said, yeah. I was like, okay. I was like, what's causing that? And she sat back. She's like, did you just really ask me that question? I'm like, yeah. So for her to do things, she had to get a piece of paper out and she scribbles. I don't know if you've ever seen people that done that before, but she had to scribble. And she was scribbling and she goes, I'm seeing mass graves. I'm seeing somebody with the shovel, but they're way off the trail, off the Appalachian Trail.
Right.
But there's a lot of graves, and she starts stuttering and she starts going faster and faster. And then she just stopped. And she says, okay, so we all know in America, there's, especially in being in law enforcement, there's a lot of unknown serial killers that are out there. We know that for a fact. Okay. We all know that. We all know about the story about the land between the lakes, correct? You know that story?
I don't believe I do.
Okay. So back in 1982, and Abe can really hit on this big hard. Allegedly, back in 1982, there was a family, father, mother, son, and daughter were camping land between the lakes. Hey, Rhonda, welcome to the show. And there was a dog man attack that killed the family and took one of the kids, the daughter, in 30, 40 yards in the woods and hung her up in the tree. This caused a mass hysteria down here in Kentucky. And it damn near shut the park down. Actually, to this day, they are letting certain parts of the park to overgrow. They're not doing the little ice stations in certain parts. They're blocking off certain parts where this incident happened. They shut it down, destroyed it. They moved the locations of the campsites to another spot. Investigators go down there. You can actually, ladies and gentlemen, Google this, Land Between the Lakes, and they got different stories on there. I had people with the Dogman Association went down there and investigated. I got a group that goes down there and investigates all the time, and they come back with horrible stories, encounters. Hey, all. Yeah, it's scary. I'll tell you how scary it is. I forgot to tell you, Mr. Cruz, I am a reverend too. So,
oh yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, that's right. So, I take a 44 mag or bigger with me, not only for safety, because out here in the country, ladies and gentlemen, there's a thing called shake and bake. I'm not going to go into it. That's how they make the drugs and so forth. Okay. You want to learn about it? Google it yourself. But I have tons and tons of this holy water, which I did have it in focus earlier. But anyways, it says holy water on it. And I have them in wide bottles. So if we're ever out, Mr. Cruz, oh, there you go. If we're ever out, do not put any of this in anybody's drink. And then everybody goes, why? I said, because what's going to happen is you're going to put it in somebody's drink. Within 10 minutes, they're going to start vomiting. They're going to start messing their pants. You're going to go, ah! Bear possessed! Grizzly! Oh my God, get your prayer book. Help me. Look at them. No, man, come on, ladies and gentlemen. It's not how that works. Okay, we had COVID, right? So when I moved, my parents were helping me move. And they're like, son, we need to talk to you. I'm like, what for? They're like, you have a problem. I'm like, duh. My psychiatrist already told me that. I mean, nobody believes in Bigfoot and fairies and Dogman or whatnot. Whatever. So I kept unloading. And they're like, no. And they held up these 2 wine bottles. And I start laughing. I'm like, Mom, really? Dad? They're like, son, if you have a drinking problem. I'm like, Dad, I can't have a drinking problem because I'm hurt. You know, I'm on special meds. I don't drink. Yeah. I don't.
Right.
And my mom's like, well, you got all these wine bottles. I'm like, look, do me a favor, pop the cork, smell it, tell me what it smells like. My mom is that curiosity that gets the cat, right? She's that one. She pops the bottle and she's like, Mike, that's my dad's name. She says, it smells like pool water. I'm like, ta-da! So I'm like, it's holy water. She's like, what? I said, I got it from St. Holy Rosary Catholic Church in Lexington. That's where I used to get my holy water before I moved. And before I moved, I got a ton of it. But they had to add bleach to the water because of the COVID and the bacteria for when they do the baptisms and people go in there and bless the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. And so, so don't put that in people's drinks. Now, if you want to throw it on them in their back, that's fine. And something comes out of them, then that's fine too. So where was I going? I done forgot. Oh, so
we're talking about Land Between the Lakes.
Yeah. So we got people down there that go with them, and they do put holy water on their ammunition. They do use silver bullets with holy water that's been blessed. I know it sounds kind of very far-fetched, but it is strange. That's why you're on the show. Because we do have groups out there. We are a no hunt, no kill group. Let's get that out there. Okay. We're not out there to hunt. We're not out there to drop them, but these are wild creatures. And, if I have to fire off a warning shot to scare one to get one away, then I will do so. If it does come towards me, and I have to fire, I got stuff that would drop a grizzly bear, and so does everybody else. But that is the last resort. Now, I have heard that people have shot at them. I have heard that it does not affect them, that it bounces off. I heard that they do bleed. I heard that people have killed them and others came out and all hell broke loose. And I heard they do carry the bodies away. Sonia says that explains the bleach marks on my clothes after going out. Yeah. an interesting thing off the subject. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Google Land Between the Lakes. I did a spiritual show last night talking about fallen angels for the ghost hunters, about attachments, right? Because a lot of people watch things off TV, Mr. Cruz. And when they do, they're like, oh, I can do that. And they go out and they get attachments and they call me up and they want, like, man, my wife and I are fighting and arguing and just stuff's happening at home. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, what did you do? They're like, what do you mean what I do? I'm like, well, you had to do something. They're like, no. I'm like, what have you done differently in the past 30 days? They're like, well, we went to a house and did an investigation. I'm like, all right, what did you do at the house? Well, we got the Ouija board out. Well, number one mistake. What else did you do? Nothing. I'm like, no. Did you call them MFers and everything else? He's like, how'd you know? I was like, that's called provoking. Okay.
Exactly.
You don't want to do that. So I had to give them some information what to do, but I'm trying to tell them when I give you the prayers, there's two things you have to have. You have to have a pure heart and you have to have faith. And if you don't have those two, what I give you does not work. You have to call somebody in your area, a psychic or a clergyman, whoever you choose, right? Come in and do the cleansing, so forth. Well, before I got finished saying that, my computer crashed. But I got 4 cell phones, 2 other computers, and an iPad up running. And it says on my main computer, it says no internet. I'm like, what? Man, I grabbed this thing of holy water right there. I start flinging it everywhere. On my walls, on my studio. And I said, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke. And I said my prayer. And the computer came back on. And it took a couple of minutes for me to say my prayers. And my co-host was like, well, hell, whatever, he's gone. And everybody was still there. And I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. And it was a freak accident. We have gremlins. And all of a sudden, I smelled something like it was burning. I'm like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go. I smelled something that's on fire. And I had to use holy water. And that's why you see my camera dripping wet. So good night. We'll see you next show. And I got off. I'm like, okay, I fried something. Well, if people that know things in the spiritual realm, if you smell anything burning, that could be actual something demonic or an evil entity. I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying it could be. So you can add silver or purified water or holy water too. Yes, you can. Just make sure that you're pure. Have somebody bless it for you. Abe says, I prepare spiritually before, during, and after investigations. That is very important. Do you pick up supernatural hitchhikers? Huh?
I was saying you don't want no attachments.
No, yeah. And it says also, do you pick up supernatural hitchhikers? Yes, you can. I will use holy water with salt and garlic, mix it. Yes, a lot of people do that. And use it places on crosses. Oh, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, do I have crosses? I've got crucifixes everywhere. So trust me, I am prepared. So, but no, it's really fascinating. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're getting involved in, because that's so important. It really is. Ladies and gentlemen, wow. Is it that time already?
Really fast.
Unbelievable.
It went by super fast. And really quick before we end the show, or at least on my end, I want to back up and mention that my good buddy Russ Bailey of Black Sky Paranormal is also out in Kentucky.
Really? I got to hook up with him.
I'm sorry, West Virginia. My bad.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Anyways, my good buddy Russ mentioned that. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Russ. Had mentioned that a lot of the missing 411 is due to UFO abductions, he believes.
So to finish that, the psychic did say it was supernatural related, and she refused to tell me what it was. So he is on the money.
Interesting.
Yes, and that was from a true psychic that does it for a living. And she refuses to talk to me since I asked her that question. So all right, ladies and gentlemen.
Grizzly, fantastic.
Yes,
thank you so
absolutely.
much. We'll have to do this again sometime. This is really cool.
Oh, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast and around the world, thank you and good night. Please make sure and like.
Y'all have
and
a good night, Beyonders.
Thank you and take care.
And
Mr. Cruz,
we'll see you on Wednesday. Don't forget, we have Psychic Anna Brandy Mark is going to join us on Wednesday night. So y'all have a good night. Thank you very much, and have a good night. Bye bye.
Take care. We'll see you, Rhonda.